I want to open with this right here. I think last February, maybe last May, I came to the show and I was really, really struggling because I've been out on the trail all day and just didn't have much show notes going on. And the boys put together a great show plan for me while I was out on the trail. And I get home and my wife's got coffee ready for me and even wrote a nice little note for me to let me know, hey, we believe in you. We're proud of you. Thanks for working so hard. And I came to this conclusion that there are only two things that matter in this life. And the key is these two things, right? You are only as good as the thoughts that you allow yourself to have and the people you surround yourself with, right? You're only as good as the thoughts that you allow yourself to have and the people that you surround yourself with, right? The thoughts that you have need to be proper or excuse me, as the kids say these days, they need to be based, right? They need to be based in factual claim, the thoughts in your head. You certainly cannot be delusional, all right, with your oneself and with one's self-talk. Can't be delusional, can't be too negative, all right? We can be critical, but we can't be delusional or hypercritical or anything super negative, right? You're only as good as the thoughts that you allow yourself to have and the people you surround yourself with, and you cannot be delusional. All right, there's some delusional football teams in 2024. There are some football fan bases in particular heading into this college football season that might be on the delusional side. So here tonight, we're going to open tonight's show with those programs that might be a little bit on the, let's say, cuckoo end of things heading into the 2023 season. Who wants to start, boys? First of all, welcome in. Hope you had a great day. Glad to see you here. What are some teams that might be on the delusional end of things?
Let's go ahead and get the obvious one out of the way. Colorado is one of the more delusional fan bases. I feel like this is a layup. Anyone can kind of give this answer. We all know why. Dion giving his takes. The fact that they had so much hype coming into the start of last year and end of the season with 4 wins kind of explains itself. So Colorado is one of the more delusional teams or fan bases in college football.
Teams for sure. Inside that building, they're selling some we're great stuff that's out of this world. I think that in some other buildings, everyone aspires to win a championship and they talk that championship talk, but there are some buildings where it's like, hey, I know we're talking about championships, but we know we're a 9-4 program. Like, we know what the deal is, right? We know we're going to be heavy underdogs. We got to, pull one out, a rabbit out of the hat against Georgia, whoever it is, right? But in Colorado, they probably out here really think they're about to win the Big 12 and go play in the college football playoff, and they're probably talking those things. I wonder how much of that fan base has, kind of separated on this. Maybe they have realize that it's a little fool's gold. Last year they're probably like, ooh, immediate success, and then it doesn't happen. I wonder if their hype around their football program has maybe dipped off in the last calendar year. Just a thought.
You'll find out pretty early on this season to see if the fan attendance remains the same as it did last year. I mean, again, you'll find out very quickly. One of my teams that I have is Miami. The Cam Ward hype specifically, I don't want to single out Cam Ward hype, but this is where the Miami hype and the delusion comes from, because they believe that Cam Ward is going to be this saving grace for this entire program, and that it only takes one piece to really solve all of our issues that we had over the season. When Cam Ward does not make you win that Georgia Tech game last year, Mario Cristobal, that was your own doing in that end. And then also, like, considering the losses you had on defense, you lost 2 safeties. One of your best wide receivers, probably your best wide receiver, is now at the University of Georgia. There are still plenty of holes on this roster to where there is plenty of caution to say Miami's probably not winning the ACC this year, because there's 2 other teams, maybe even 3 other teams that a lot of people would probably still pick over Miami. Time to pump the brakes. I think there's full of delusion in Miami, as there has been over the last 8 years.
We'll stick in the ACC with NC State. Now, I don't know how NC State fans feel, because I don't think I ever met one a single day in my life. But maybe they're here tonight. If they are, correct me if I'm wrong. But if you guys got ACC title hopes, I understand why. I get it. Y'all are a relatively consistent program. I think of NC State, and the first thing that comes to mind is 8-4, right? Like 4th, 5th best team in the ACC perennially. That's what I think of. And now, because you got Grayson McCall, you think like now it's a playoff run. Now we can make that top 12. Now we can get inside that top 11. And it ain't just Grayson McCall. Your whole roster's built on hopes and prayers, to be honest with you. If you look at the starting rotation on both sides of the football, that's 22 spots. 7 of them are filled by brand new transfers. You look at the 2 deep, it gets worse. That's 44 spots, 18 of which are filled by transfers. So if you think you can just go out and pick off everybody else's roster, slap it together, and go win the ACC, maybe you're Florida State. But I don't necessarily know that you are Florida State, because you're NC State. All right. So I think the NC State hype is a little bit overblown. And also, I know, especially off of last night's show, I might be titled as the king of the anti-Will Howard deep state. However, I run 2 of these coalitions. All right. I got an anti-Will Howard deep state that I am the front, head, and center of, poster boy. poster child. Grayson McCall, close second. All right. I don't understand the hype on Grayson McCall because Grayson McCall was essentially a triple option quarterback at Coastal Carolina and had one okay to really good season. And the team had a great season. But outside of that, like, Grayson McCall ain't been him for a fat minute. So, like, this idea that Grayson McCall is going to come in and make you an ACC championship winning program, I don't necessarily see that. I see another 8-4 program for NC State.
I like that one. I'm going to go with Texas on this next one for two reasons. One, at the start of all this SEC Media Day stuff, when Texas basically came out and expected that they were going to walk through the SEC and, where everyone's Super Bowl this year and all that, that's playing out delusional. But now it's flipped the other way to where with the CJ Baxter news, everyone's freaking out where, well, there goes the season. That's such a big loss. I don't know how we're going to recover from this. CJ Baxter is going to be a major part of your offense, yes. You're probably still going to be one of the best teams in college football. So I have Texas fans being delusional for two reasons here.
A little freak out, and we're the best team in America. A little both sides.
I'm triple dipping on the ACC, and I'm throwing Florida State in this mix because Florida State had such a great season last year. You went 13-0. You did all the things right. But I'm still not of a belief that DJU is going to walk into this program and solve a lot of issues. There's still so many questions. Like I think people act like he went over to Oregon State and just lit the world on fire. That was not the case. It was not DJU carrying that football team on his own shoulders. So now he comes over to Florida State. They lose two of their top receiving weapons. I think they lost a lot on defense. Now, you added a lot from the portal, but I think that the ACC is a crap show because of one of these things right here is Florida State. There are so many questions with you. You're in this crap show. It's not that you're above the crap show. You're kind of flying over it, hovering over it. You're in the mix of this. You're one of the reasons why people sit there at the ACC and they question of, well, I don't know who's going to win it. You're part of that problem, Florida State, because nobody has confidence in you picking you and saying they're the outright winner. They're the outright top dog in this conference.
Another football team that took a lot of guys that were on other programs to hope to patchwork their own program. So we'll see. And not all of them. Just for example, TJ Ferguson wasn't starting at Alabama. Is TJ Ferguson a Power 5 starter? Yes. You're going to slide him in and expect him to play like a top, 10 roster quality guard. I hope that's the case. We don't know that to be the case. We've never seen TJ Ferguson play. We're all projecting that. Okay. So that's just one example on a whole entire roster that is lit up on our lads. Love to look at our lads. And they light it up with them oranges. All right. Them orange names. They just got there. Half of the charts, orange names. I don't feel great about that. And by the way, Florida State fans that are here that might be hating on me for that comment, you shouldn't feel great about that either because it was 2022 where most of those guys were first-year transfers. And then 2023, the second year in the system, apart from Keon Coleman, that's when things popped for you guys. So it's more of once guys get in here, we identify their skill sets, we identify their traits, we can maximize their talents. That happens 18 months in. That does not happen for most cases 8, 9, 10 months into the situation. So I'm with you to an extent. However, I still think they're the most talented team in the ACC.
I agree with that statement.
All right, I got one for you. Now, I know we have some of these fans listening tonight, and I want to preface this with if you're on the side that next year is the year, then I'm not talking to you. But if you're a Tennessee fan that thinks this year is your year, I want to pump the brakes a little bit because we understand year 2 growth in the system is a real thing for everyone, particularly young quarterbacks. And if my memory serves me correct, Hendon Hooker was really good in 2021. He was great in 2022. Do we all remember that process, right? Same thing for the rest of the offense. The thing about a wide split choice offense is that there are choices to them, okay? So the quarterback and the wide receiver have to be on the same exact page. So it's not just growing pains from a progression. I got to see the field, speed of the game standpoint. That all still applies. There's also a report, all right? There's he's going to do this, and we're thinking the same thing at the same time. I'm seeing cover 6, so he should sit down in the curl because he should run a dig because the safety's out over the top of the numbers. These types of things are only available through report. I think it is a year 2 progression. It's why I've said, if you look at 2025, the landscape of college football in those particular years, everyone's got a shitload of questions just at the quarterback position heading into that year. Tennessee will not, you presume, if Nico does the things this year. I think year 2 in Nico's progression is when you should be pushing, hey, let's go for a national title.
That's a fair one. This next one I feel like is also a little bit obvious, and it's kind of because of what happened last season. It's kind of washed over into this year, but Michigan fans are downright delusional. One, for defending Harbaugh and all that stuff, then for saying, Sharon Moore is going to have this team right where it was last year. The amount of players you lost combined with the schedule that you have, which honestly isn't super difficult, but the fact that you don't have Harbaugh there anymore, all that stuff, thinking you're a playoff team this year is flat out delusion.
Save this team for last for a reason. And I think that I've kind of really started to fade this team over the last couple weeks, I'd say. Over the last 2 weeks, the more and more I analyze this roster, the more and more concerned I become, because I think they do have these highlight pieces, but I don't think it's going to be enough to necessarily overcome everything else and become a playoff team. Missouri, I think, is a delusional football team this year to think that just because you have an easy schedule that you're going to be plopped into the college football playoff and you're going to have success because you have Luther Burden and you have Brady Cook. I think that I kind of get Oklahoma vibes from this roster a little bit. You returned 5 defensive starters from last year, and the defense was okay. You were ranked 25th in scoring defense, so not terrible. You were right there in the mix of you were a good defense. Losing that many pieces, I'm expecting a tick down. And again, you lose Cody Schrader as well. That was an important piece in that offense of having an established run game, and that helped open up everything else for Luther Burden and Brady Cook. I think those two will be really good. I think Brady Cook and Luther Burden will put up good numbers, but Missouri as a whole, I'm kind of fading, and I think they're a little delusional to just believe that they're an automatic bid for this playoff.
It's still an SEC slate, despite the fact that they dodged the big boys. I have one more. Who else has got something?
I'm good.
All right, I got Notre Dame, and for this reason, I have a hard time believing you are a national title contender with 0 weapons. That's my problem, and that's it. We can leave it at that. I know you're great defensively. They look like a 2019, 2018 Georgia football roster. A quarterback that is A- college football quarterback. Riley's got a little bit more NFL juice, in my opinion, than even Fromm did. But yeah, the defense is great. You are going to struggle to consistently be explosive on the offensive side of the football, which in my opinion means you're going to struggle to be consistently great on the offensive side of the football against good defenses. Now, the good thing for Notre Dame, they don't play a lot of those this year, okay? Like hardly any. It's like Florida State. That's about it. Okay, the rest of the schedule doesn't look very formidable on the defensive side of the football. However, like you are fading Missouri, I am fading Notre Dame for the lack of weapons. Even if it's just maybe they do sneak their way into a college football playoff as an 11 seed with 1 loss and that crappy schedule. But even if they do, I think they fizzle out relatively quickly in a real situation where they're playing a top 10 caliber football team with a top 25 defense.